Welcome, my fellow Marvel fans. After the explosion of my recent Star Wars character strength and power tier list, I decided to do one for Marvel as well. And to do that, I went back and rewatched all the MCU movies. So I thought I might as well do a tier list of the movies and rank them in the order I think how good they are or how bad I think they are. And with me, I brought one of my otaku acolytes. Introduce yourself.
Hello, Internet.
Okay, so I'm gonna start. I ordered these in the order that we watched them. We did it in chronological order. So we started off with Captain America, the first Avenger. And I thought that movie was pretty solid. I personally gave it an 8 out of 10. And I think I will put it in the great tier. What do you think?
I would have to agree. It was a very well-defined story, and it was a good watch. It was very good by itself.
Yep. And next, after Captain America, we have the next Captain, Captain Marvel, which I know a lot of people don't like that much, but I actually thought it was a pretty solid movie. Not quite on the level of Captain America, but it had some good humor. I really liked the plot twist with the green aliens actually not being the bad guys, but the Krees being the bad guys the entire time. And of course, I have to love the cat Goose. I think it was a Flurkin or something. But yeah, he
Strangely powerful.
Yeah. And that's how Nick Fury lost his eye, which was definitely an interesting way to lose it.
Anticlimactic, to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah, so I thought it was a solid movie. I mean, Captain Marvel's not my favorite main character.
Kind of one note, but it's definitely good for the whole Marvel world. The world building is very good, and it shows you a lot of different characters and species.
Yeah. I think I'll put this in the good tier.
I'd agree with that.
Okay. And then next in the timeline is Iron Man, the original, the first MCU movie.
Oh, the OG.
Yep. I really liked this movie. I liked how he built the suit in the cave and killed all those terrorists with his original suit. And there was a few badass scenes later on in the movie, like where he went to that village with his Mark III suit, I think it was, and
He just saved everybody.
Yep. And he blew up the tank and walked away or whatever.
The original slow-mo.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, definitely a great tier movie.
The best cast character.
I had that at a 9 out of 10. I'll put that.
Robert Downey Jr. is the only Tony Stark.
Yeah, I think he is probably the best MCU character overall, honestly.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
Him and Captain America, I think, are the best typecasted characters they
Yeah.
could have picked, really.
Let's see. After that was Iron Man 2. And not as good as the first one, but Tony Stark is still a really strong main lead. It introduces Black Widow.
Gotta love Scarlett Johansson.
The villain is kind of forgettable. He was basically just...
Poor Whiplash.
Yeah, an Iron Man guy with whips.
He's just a nerfed Iron Man, who sucks, and he's Russian.
Yeah. So I would say this, because of Tony Stark carrying it, I would say it's still good, but not as good as Captain Marvel.
There's only so much he can do.
Yeah. Next is Hulk, which...
We don't want to talk about Hulk.
Hulk, I think, is easily the worst out of all the MCU movies. It was, like, the most serious out of all of them. It had barely any comedy.
There was no humor. It was awful.
It had, like, a completely different tone from the rest of the MCU movies.
And the CG was really bad. But that was just for the time.
Yeah. And it was the second one that it came out, so it was, like, I guess they didn't completely have their niche down yet. And also, they didn't have... they had, I think it was Edward Norton as the actor of Hulk instead of... who's the one now? Mark Ruffalo. Yeah.
I liked Edward Norton.
Yeah, he
did it good for what it was.
Yeah.
But it's just... I like Funny Hulk.
Yeah, the Funny Hulk is way better, and yeah, overall, and the only thing I also kind of like the soundtrack in this movie. There was like one soundtrack when he was running away that kind of was catchy. But
the only redeeming factor is Abomination, and he might come back.
Yeah,
or he's coming back.
Yeah,
so.
And the She-Hulk thing. But yeah, that's gonna be the lowest tier, the okay tier. I gave it a 5 out of 10. Like, it was just like a forgettable average.
Oh, it also had General Ross in it, which
yeah.
He shows up and they never really talk about him again.
Yeah. Okay, after that was Thor, the first Thor. I actually think this is the worst of the Thor movies.
By far.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, it was just like kind of just a standard story. Some parts of it actually kind of remind me of The Lion King, like with Thor and Loki's relationship was like Mufasa and Scar. And literally one of the scenes was like when Thor told Thor that he couldn't come back and just to leave or whatever. It reminded me of the scene where Scar told Simba just to run away.
Father is dead. Your banishment. The threat of a new war. was too much for him to bear. You mustn't blame yourself.
But the king is dead. And if it weren't for you, he'd still be alive.
And Mother has forbidden your return.
What will your mother think?
Yeah.
And then there was also the scene at the bridge where he was holding on to the edge of the bridge, just like in The Lion King, and then he let go.
And then Loki came back and lied to him. He's like, you can't come back.
Yeah. Yeah, but...
that's the funny thing, too, is this movie had such great actors. It had Natalie Portman. It had the guy who plays Loki. I mean, they're all so good. It's just, they didn't get their niche down yet.
Yeah,
they're not in their stride.
Yeah,
they were just kind of walking.
Yeah, I don't think it was bad. It just wasn't that good. I put it in the okay tier, but still better than Hulk.
Much better than Hulk.
Yeah, I gave it a 6 out of 10. Next was the first Avengers movie, which I thought was really good. I gave it a 9 out of 10. I definitely think it could have made the amazing tier, but I think it like kind of didn't age well in some categories.
America's suit.
Yeah, Captain America's
down
suit.
A tier.
Captain America's suit did not look that good in
made
the
by
first Avenger
literal
movies.
children.
Even though he did have America's ass, but I think that's the top of the great tier. Yeah,
it's a nostalgia trip for sure.
Yeah, almost amazing tier.
It introduces a lot of stuff too.
Yep. Okay, and after this was Iron Man 3, which I know a lot of people didn't like.
It's the ugly cousin of the series.
I honestly thought it was better than Iron Man 2, though, because I thought the villain was more interesting, and it also the Iron Legion scene at the end with all of his Iron Man suits.
Yeah, which you never used again because he blew it up.
Yep, I don't know. Yeah, really that wasn't a good idea. But
the biggest problem with Tony Stark is he makes his own villains.
Yeah.
All of the villains.
Yeah, but yeah, it's carried by Tony Stark again, Robert Downey Jr., just the solid main character.
Gwyneth Paltrow did a pretty good job in this movie, too.
It was just, like, it was good, but it wasn't great. Okay, next was Thor 2, which is another not liked MCU movie, but I'm going to put it above Thor 1. Because I thought it was kind of funnier and it had like better action. I don't know.
It was one step closer to being good, but it wasn't quite there.
Yeah, like I really like the scene where Loki was transforming into different characters and he transformed into Captain America to make fun of him. I thought that was pretty funny.
That was funny.
Yeah,
the Dark Elves were really weak in my opinion. They were like they could have been a lot better.
Yeah, they were kind of crappy villains.
It introduced the stone though. So
yep. Okay, and next, Captain America: Winter Soldier. Oh, and I gave Iron Man 3 and Thor 2. I gave Iron Man 3 a 7 out of 10 and Thor 2 a 6 out of 10. Captain America Winter Soldier. It was a solid movie. I really liked this one. I think it was actually better than the first Captain America movie. Like, it had just really good fight scenes with Captain America and the Winter Soldier. And the relationship with him and Bucky was just really good. And the villain, like, plot twist being the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D. or whatever was pretty good.
Hail Hydra.
Yeah.
How did they never realize that?
Yeah, and yeah,
it's a little too close to home.
I gave this movie an 8 out of 10. Next movie, Guardians of the Galaxy. I really love the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. They just have a really solid core cast of characters, extremely funny.
They peak humor.
Yeah.
They really nail it in these movies. They're great. The whole dynamic between the whole cast is amazing.
Yeah. And, I mean, Ronan was an okay villain. He kind of could have been better, but...
He served his purpose.
Yeah, he served his purpose. It was mostly...
The end was funny.
Yeah. Also, the prison scene was just really good. Oh, yeah.
Another example of good world building. A lot of, you see a lot of the different species in universe, parts of the universe that you've never, you're not familiar with.
Yeah, I would say this is definitely in the great tier. I'll have it below Iron Man, but above Captain America Winter Soldier.
Yeah, that's good.
And next is we watched Guardians 2 after that. And this was one of my favorite MCU movies. I think it's probably the funniest MCU movie out of all of them. Like, just the My Nipples scene with Drax is hilarious.
My nipples! This moving in slow motion scene.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or when they were going through the space portals and their faces were all messed up.
Yeah, the jumps.
Yeah. Oh, and the whistle scene with what was his name? Yondu was really good.
Oh, I love this. The whole subplot with Yondu, was one of my favorites. I
Yeah.
loved it. He's such a good character.
Yeah.
His depth and
Yeah.
his whole progression.
Yeah, exactly. His death scene is probably the saddest death scene in the MCU. Honestly.
I think it's sadder than Tony Stark's death scene.
Yeah, it was just so messed up when he was in space and he's like, "No!" as he's dying.
Because I didn't
basically.
want him. I didn't think he was gonna die.
Yeah.
Like Tony Stark, I knew he was gonna die, but this was caught me by surprise.
Yeah, and since I'm a weeaboo, I have to mention that it seemed like there was a Gurren Lagann reference.
Totally was.
Yeah, when he said, "Believe in the me that
Believe
believes
in
in
me
you,"
that believe in you.
or something like that.
You don't have to believe in yourself, because I believe in you.
Listen, Simone, don't believe in yourself. Huh? Believe in me. Believe in the communa who believes in you.
What's that mean?
Yeah, so I've definitely put this in the top tier of MCU
all
movies.
the Guardians of
Amazing.
the Galaxy movies also have the best soundtrack.
Oh yeah, they do have
So
amazing
good.
soundtracks.
Amazing.
And
And that's why it's in the amazing tier.
Yes. After that was Age of Ultron, which I think was the weakest of the Avengers movies. But, I mean, I liked Ultron as a villain. Interesting concept. He had a good personality. But,
Tony Stark yet again fucks himself.
yeah, exactly. I think it was probably good tier, but I'm going to put it at the top of the good tier. because
Too many characters. They're introducing too many characters, not enough screen
Oh, that's
time.
true. Like, Scarlet Witch and the Quicksilver, I don't like them that much in this movie.
the fact that they brought in them and then also killed one of them in the same movie.
Yeah. Like,
no real reason.
I mean, Scarlet Witch ends up being better later, but at this point, she was kind of bad, and they had kind of like bad fake Russian accents.
Oh, they lost their accents halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
It was. The fighting was good though.
Yeah. And I gave that a 7 out of 10. I gave the first Guardians an 8 out of 10, and the second one a 9 out of 10. Let's see. After Age of Ultron was Ant-Man. And
Surprised to be sure.
yeah, I liked this movie is pretty good. Honestly, there's some kind of scenes that weren't that exciting, but the really part that makes up for it, I think, is the final fight scene, which was just really good, and they used like an intelligent.
It's overly dramatic in the best possible way.
Yeah, with like Thomas the Tank Engine, like how they're fighting in like a toy room.
Yeah, exactly. The biggest problem I have with this movie is the inconsistency with what he can do.
Yeah, like I don't know, it's weird because supposedly he gets smaller because his atoms get close together, but that shouldn't change his mass, so his weight should
And
stay the same.
sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes it does.
Like sometimes he's really dense and he falls on the floor and cracks the floor or goes
punches
through
people.
like the roof or something, and he punches people with a lot of force. But then sometimes he could be on someone's shoulder and they don't even feel him. I don't know, it's just really inconsistent. But
I think the acting was really good, though.
Yeah, good acting. Pretty funny. I think it was good. Probably better than the Iron Man movies, but I don't think it's as good as Captain Marvel. And I gave that a 7 out of 10. And after that is Captain America Civil War. I think this is the best of the Captain America movies. It's basically Avengers. It's basically an Avengers
It's
movie.
a light Avengers movie.
Yeah, it's the Avengers without the Hulk and without Thor.
With Spider-Man, though.
Yeah, and
They
with
just throw
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Honestly, it shouldn't even been called Captain America.
Yeah, it could have been called Avengers Civil War.
It
But
really could. I mean, honestly, it could have just replaced Age of Ultron.
yeah.
It was so good. The fighting, the end fight at the airport was amazingly well done.
Mm-hmm.
It was incredible.
Yeah. And the villain was pretty cool. How basically he wasn't even evil. He just wanted like
He
revenge
was
for his family being killed.
He was such a good villain.
Yeah. And I gave it an 8 out of 10. I could see it being argued as a 9 out of 10 as well, but because of that, I'll put it below the first Iron Man, but I think it's better than every other movie in the great tier that I'm going to put.
It's definitely one that's good to rewatch.
Yeah.
Has a lot of rewatchability.
And after that, we watched Doctor Strange, which I really like this movie, and I loved Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange.
He's
it was
amazing.
a great casting. Doctor Strange just has really unique powers, and it's really interesting with what they did.
I like to see the change of his personality from being an asshole to basically
Yeah.
being one of the nicest of all of the Avengers.
Yeah, and he's very similar to Tony Stark, really.
Yeah, really. He's like a Tony Stark who becomes self-aware of how much a dick he is.
Yeah.
And then he gets to be one of the strongest characters.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
The one like negative I would say is probably the villains weren't that compelling. Like Dormammu's cool, but he's barely in it, and he's just kind of like a big
He's
bad
just a
guy.
conceptual kind of thing.
His acolytes, like I kind of understand.
fodder. They're just
Yeah, I understood their
pointless.
motive. They basically wanted everyone to be immortal and make it so there was no death, which is funny because that's basically what the final bad guy of Bleach was trying to do. But Yeah,
A lot of villains try to do that.
I like their motive, but they were kind of like just characterless and did nothing.
They were just kind of vessels for the story.
Pretty much.
I love the trippiness of this movie was awesome though.
Yeah, I would
seeing it in theaters was like next level.
Yeah, it's definitely a great tier. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I think I'll put it under the first Guardians movie. It's kind of around there.
Yeah, I would say
Pretty
we're
good.
tied with that.
Yeah. Next was Black Panther, which I know a lot of people really love and got really good ratings from the critics, and I think it was pretty good.
It's good. The villain is a little weak in my opinion.
I mean, I like Killmonger, but like I don't know, like he just kind of had strange motives. It's like, oh, because people were suppressing us, now we'll suppress everyone else. Like I don't know, but also this movie which was obviously for the black community, like because it's like their first like big black superhero that for the movies. But the funny thing is, they were almost like this movie I find kind of racist both to black people and white people. To white people, obviously, because his sister called white people colonizers and white boys consistently. Mm-hmm. So at least his sister seemed kind of racist. And the reason why it seems kind of racist to black people is because there was the one scene like they had those guys who were basically started chanting like monkeys, and when like the white guy tried talking, the white guy tried talking, and they just started like howling over him, like ooh 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 when he started to talk. It's like,
look, Your Highness, the new king is a U.S. The new king.
I don't know, but it was just kind of weird to me. But
it was a little too not political, but it strayed more from the traditional movie. It's a movie. It's supposed to be a good time.
Yeah, but I just enjoyed it. A good story, good visuals.
I love the main character. I love Black Panther. I think he's really well done. Yeah, and it's sad that he's has passed.
I think that's it. It'd be great tier. I'll put it above the first.
I really wish they had a second one, or I want to see the second.
Yeah, they're coming out with the second one. It's gonna be interesting with what they're gonna do with that. I feel like they're not gonna recast him, but they might like write him out of the story and have someone take his place.
They could do a younger version of him. I could see them doing that.
I don't know.
They typecast him as younger, and then they have a new actor fill the role. I could see that. Or he just wears his mask and he can't take his suit off for some reason the entire movie.
Yeah. Also, that movie made the "What are those" joke. I'm like, why was that there? But
the movie had good humor though.
Yeah. Next, Spider-Man: Homecoming. I really like this as a Spider-Man movie. It was cool how it brought in Tony Stark, and I really like Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I think it was a pretty good movie. I gave it a 7 out of 10.
I think the villain was probably one of the weakest villains in all of Marvel, in my opinion.
I thought he was okay. I mean, he had an interesting motive, but like I don't know, he wasn't.
I mean, the thing is, it was unique, but it was so one note. It was just like for my family, but he has like a mansion.
Yeah, that's true. It's like, oh yeah, I need money for my family. But he was like a 1%er basically. But that could have been because of what he was doing. But
yeah, no. But you think that if you're doing it for your family, you're like, oh, I made a lot of money. I'm gonna go legit.
Yeah.
At that point, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm gonna put this near the top of the good tier. Next was Thor Ragnarok. This is easily the best Thor movie. I think it's one of the best
far
MCU movies in general. One of the funniest, as a good villain.
They really nailed down Thor.
Yeah.
Thor definitely found his character.
Yeah, this is where Thor became extremely funny in this movie.
And then added with Loki being in a lot of it.
Yeah, Loki.
Their dynamic between them got so.
Yeah, like the get help scene was amazing. Thor or Hulk was in it, and he was great. The one problem I have with this movie is they kind of doesn't explain a lot of stuff. Like things just happen. Like Hulk made it to that space planet somehow from a Quinjet after Age of Ultron, completely not explained.
Yeah.
Was that Quinjet even made for space travel? I have no idea.
I feel like there was a lot of scenes that were cut or
and how Loki took the throne from Odin, and then Odin just happened to be sent to Earth at he was put into an old person home, and then he made it to Norway somehow. Just that's not explained at all. So that's the only basically that's because of those reasons I gave it a 9 out of 10. I think it's up there in the amazing tier. It could go either way with the Guardians movie. I'm gonna put it above just because I think overall it's a more balanced movie, but Guardians is funnier. But I could see it going either way, honestly. after Thor Ragnarok, we watched Avengers Infinity War, which basically leads right into it. It's like, oh, they just succeeded in Thor Ragnarok, but then Thanos came in and killed half of them like the second after, which is pretty depressing. But Avengers Infinity War is definitely one of the best MCU movies. I gave it a 10 out of 10. In the amazing tier for sure. All the characters are here. Great fight scenes, great action scenes. And with the end, the villain actually wins, snapping out half of the universe.
It was definitely a plot twist. I never expected it, and that was amazing. I like it when the villain wins in the end.
Yeah, Thanos is easily one of the best MCU characters, probably the best villain. He's one of the best villains in cinema.
He also has really unique goals for a superhero movie. Not so much an anime. I mean, anime stuff like this is kind of common, but in traditional forms of media like this, most people were unfamiliar with it, and it kind of took them by surprise, which is really interesting, and I really liked it.
Yep. We haven't seen a loss like this in a movie since Revenge of the Sith. Okay, and then after that we watched Ant-Man and Wasp, which technically kind of takes place before or during Infinity War, but then like the end credit scene happens after Infinity War, because you see his friends get snapped out, and he can't get brought back out of the quantum realm. I like this movie better than the first Ant-Man. I thought it was funnier, and I like the Giant Man scenes.
Yeah, the female lead, in my opinion, was much better in this movie than the first one. I liked all the characters. They're very interesting. The dynamic is really cool.
I'll put this one in the good tier.
They had good fights, too.
Yeah, I think I'll put it below Captain
Marvel. I love the whole
honestly.
idea of the shrinking building. The villain was weak, though. The female villain, she was very...
Yeah, Ghost, because she was... I mean, she was someone who actually wasn't evil or anything, and not that big of a threat. I mean, interesting powers, but...
In comparison to all the other movies, it's very minor, very minor.
Yeah, it was basically just an intro movie. It was there.
Yeah, pretty much. It's pretty much the end credit scene is all you really need to watch.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad, actually.
Yeah. And then Endgame, which
10 out of 10 best movie, put it up there. That's all I'm gonna say. Watch it.
I agree. It's funny because I originally liked Infinity War better when I first watched them in the theaters.
Endgame is just better to rewatch.
Yeah, after rewatching, I think Endgame, it had more comedy scenes. The finale was amazing, the best finale out of any of the MCU movies. Everything comes together in giant epic battle.
The way that they mix the serious tone but with the humor, it's so well done.
Fat Thor, one of the funniest things
Marvel ever did.
Yeah. Also, Hulk and Banner combo, Smart Hulk, Professor Hulk, or whatever you want to call him, also extremely funny. Like the scene in the bar where the kids didn't want Ant-Man's signature, and Hulk kept saying, "Oh yeah, get his signature," and he's like, "No," because he was embarrassed that they didn't want it. That was hilarious. The heel grow scene was hilarious.
The ending was perfect.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it was just
the Thor scene at the end when they were arguing who's actually the captain of the guardianship was really funny. He's like, we all know who's in charge here.
There was also so many good callbacks to the comic books with Captain America and Thor's hammer and Hail Hydra.
Yeah, the Thor hammer scene in the first time I saw that in the movie theater, that was extremely epic, that scene. And also, the Hail Hydra scene was hilarious in the elevator when he just takes the scepter from them by saying, "Hail Hydra." And then they just gave it to him and were like, "Oh, Captain America's on our side?" But, yeah.
It was a movie you could rewatch. You could just keep rewatching them. Yeah. It's amazing.
Great movie. And then finally, the last of the Phase 3 movies is Spider-Man Far From Home, which I feel like, honestly, Endgame should have been the last of the Phase 3.
Yeah,
but
they should have gave it a little bit of time.
Yeah, and then that's when the break could have happened, but Spider-Man Far From Home, great movie.
I
I think it was better.
I like the villain. I think it has one of the most unique villain or group of villains.
Yeah, Mysterio, he was a really charismatic, good villain. He's one character
Jake Gyllenhaal's amazing.
Yeah, he's not that big of a threat, but he just he just comes off as
Tony
really,
Stark creating more villains.
Yeah, exactly.
Tony Stark is the villain.
Yeah, kind of. But Nick Fury was in this movie, even though it actually wasn't Nick Fury the entire time.
That was a good twist.
It was Talos, the green alien guys that could transform into other people. Yeah, so I would say this was in the great tier.
I like MJ. She was a good actress. She's a very good actress.
Great tier. Better than Black Panther, I think. I'm not sure if it's better than Winter Soldier. It's around there. I'll put it right there. Yeah, I gave that an 8 out of 10. I gave Endgame a 10 out of 10. Ant-Man and Wasp a 7 out of 10.
Endgame 11 out of 10, easy.
Infinity War I gave a 10 out of 10. Ragnarok a 9 out of 10. Homecoming a 7 out of 10. Black Panther and Doctor Strange 8 out of 10. And yeah, that's all of them.
We don't talk about the Hulk.
Yeah. Yeah, let me know what you guys think, how you think this should be ranked, if we did a good accurate job at how at ranking these movies, if you think what we said were correct, or if our list is completely garbage, if we don't know how to rank movies, possibly, maybe not. Maybe I should only rank anime, I don't know. But yeah, I really enjoy the MCU movies, and I'm really looking forward to the new stuff right now. We're watching Wanda versus Vision, but my Weeaboo acolyte right here is not the biggest fan.
No, not at all.
It's kind of boring at first, but I mean, hopefully it goes somewhere interesting. And I'm really excited for the Loki TV show and
That
the other
would be
stuff.
good. That has to be good.
Yeah,
There's no way
hopefully.
it can be bad.
Yeah, I'm upset that the coronavirus has delayed everything, but I'm looking forward to new Marvel content, and look forward to my Marvel strength character tier list that I'm going to be working on, and hopefully will be coming out relatively soon. I might wait until the WandaVision show is out before I post that, but subscribe if you want to see that. Definitely like this video, and good luck on your journeys, and Weeaboo Warrior out.